get your Monday going? Well, if you're missing it, you are in luck. OTAs begin today. 4 teams will get their official offseason program started. That includes the Cowboys. Jags, Raiders, and Patriots are the other ones. We're focused on Dallas, though, for right now, who certainly have some questions that need some answers because it has been a season of change over in Big D. What does that change in case you need a little refresher? Well, of course, Mike McCarthy is gone. Promote Brian Schottenheimer to the now head coach position. Dak Prescott, haven't seen him in a while, coming back from that hamstring injury. Micah Parsons ended the last year of his contract. George Pickens, there's new offense in, there's new defensive players, and that is where we get started here to continue that conversation about the Dallas Cowboys. And for that, we bring in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. And JJ, we start with Micah Parsons here, the last year of his deal. We know he wants to get paid. He wants a new contract. I'm going to go yes or no here with a question for you right here. Will he show up to OTAs?
Ooh, making me go with a yes or a no when the answer could be yes and no, right? Like, guys who are in contract disputes can show up and not do anything. They can show up one day and do something or not do something. They could show up another day. And then it could be, yeah, I had a personal commitment or a schedule conflict. And did they actually, or is this applying a little pressure to the team? And if it is attempting to apply pressure to the Dallas Cowboys, I think that Jerry Jones has said many times over that almost he lives in chaos, almost like Bane, the Batman villain, right? He was born in this and he was molded by it. So I don't know whether he will or he won't. And even if he does, if that actually means something based historically off of how players deal with OTAs, with voluntary workouts. The fact of the matter is these two sides have been talking for some time now. You can say who has been doing the talking, right? Because Jerry Jones said that he doesn't even know Micah Parsons' agent's name, and it happens to be David Mulligetta, one of the best agents in the NFL ever, but certainly today. So that was something that he said more than a month ago to a gaggle of folks that I was a part of. Ultimately, though, I do believe that a contract will be reached because a contract has to be reached because Micah Parsons has to be paid. And ultimately, I believe that he will become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That means above Myles Garrett at $40 million in average annual value. That means above Jamar Chase at a tick more than $40 million in average annual value. But when that deal gets done, what that looks like in terms of guarantees, how many years on his contract, all that certainly remains to be seen.
JJ, I just want you to know I'm really biting my tongue here because you brought up Bane, and then I wanted to do my Bane impression, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let the people know that I have a great Bane impression, and now ask you question number 2, which is over to Dak Prescott. As he tries to come back from that hamstring injury and the subsequent surgery, he will probably be limited for OTAs, so you figure this is now a perfect time to see what you have in Joe Milton, who you traded for, right?
Yeah, you could certainly say that. And I want to say to all Dallas Cowboys fans, or to even the Dallas Cowboys haters who say, my gosh, it was just a hamstring on Dak Prescott. I mean, we just saw Aaron Gordon play in Game 7 with a hamstring that was supposed to take him out a month. Why is it taking him so long? Why isn't he full go when you're just throwing on air? And that is the answer to the question. He doesn't have to be full go right now. This man right here, the highest paid player in NFL history, in Dallas Cowboys history, on the team currently, all of those things, the $60 million man, Dak Prescott doesn't have to do anything right now. And look, the hamstring literally tore off the bone, partially. He had to go have surgery. If this were a playoff game that were about to be played next Sunday, I 1,000% believe that Dak Prescott would be out there on the field taking every single snap for the Dallas Cowboys. They are more or less doing glorified practice right now. So Dak Prescott doesn't have to do anything. So Joe Milton, he can go out there and get those reps. Again, the reps today matter a little bit less than they do once you get to training camp, once you get to joint practices, once you get to the preseason games. In fact, I think that Joe Milton probably will look amazing with that bazooka of an arm when you go out there and you're kind of throwing against air or 7-on-7s, etc. So I don't know that it is a huge deal for Joe Milton right now, but certainly he is going to, I believe, look very good in the sort of structure that is out there right now. And again, I fully expect Dak Prescott to be 100% healthy when Dak Prescott and the Cowboys need him to be 100% healthy and go.
Yeah, that's certainly good news for all the Dallas fans out there wondering what's going on with their QB1. If you're wondering what's going on with potentially wide receiver 2, we'll call him, and George Pickens, how do you think they incorporate him in for OTAs? If you're not going to get as much time with Dak Prescott, how will that plan work out?
You know, it's interesting, and I can't wait to see how this does work out. There's a lot on Brian Schottenheimer's plate. First-year head coach, long-time coach in the NFL, obviously grew up in it with his pedigree and last name. So how is he going to integrate George Pickens? You know, Pickens and CeeDee Lamb were just at a celebrity softball event. I believe it was thrown by Kyler Murray. And he was asked by someone about sort of being an A or a B or a 1 or a 2. And he's like, there's no A and B here. We're both number ones. And, of course, this is a Dallas Cowboys team that hasn't had a wide receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb with at least 1,000 receiving yards in about a half decade. You're going to get George Pickens, who hopefully is going to be motivated, who hopefully is looking to change the narrative on George Pickens, the person, on how he is viewed and the perspective by which he's viewed around the league. You know, the Steelers got rid of him, and I said at the time, I don't think there were many tears in Pittsburgh because of that. You know, he is going into the last year of his contract. The Cowboys could franchise tag him. They could ultimately get him a contract extension, or they could let him walk in free agency next year. It all depends on George Pickens, how he's going to handle this situation that he's in. So, again, almost similar to the previous question. Yeah, it's going to be nice right now going up, and everyone looks great in OTAs, right? But what's it going to be when the ball starts going CeeDee Lamb's way in, let's say, week 4, and he gets 11 targets and George Pickens gets 3 or 4? What's it going to be if George Pickens isn't targeted until midway through the second quarter? What then does George Pickens do? What does that look like? That is what's going to be the determining factor. But in terms of scribbling up plays on the back of a napkin and letting these guys go out there in mid-May and run them, boy, I don't think there's anything better than that right now.
Yeah, easy to say we're both ones right now before you really lace them up and you get to the actual games. Then we'll see if we're singing that same song in a few months. Let's change the song and the tune and go away from Dallas and head over to Minneapolis for the site of NFL owners meeting scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday. This go round, what should we expect to see come out of those meetings?
Okay, so there are 3 main topics. Number 1, the NFL player participation in flag football in the 2028 Olympics that will be played in Los Angeles. I expect this resolution to ultimately pass. One player from each team can represent his own country in the Olympics. And so there's a lot of stuff that still has to get worked out. And this resolution that, again, I believe team owners will pass later this week will essentially say, now we can get to work on what all this looks like, how much time can be missed, who is paying for the injury protection and the insurance. All of those sorts of questions can be handled at that point moving forward. Next up, the tush push, Green Bay's proposal to ban the Philadelphia Eagles tush push. That can be up for a vote. I expect the language of that proposal to be revised because I don't think that the language of the current proposal is actually very good at all. And that's part of the reason that it was tabled, because they weren't going to get 3/4 of NFL team owners to vote yes to ban the tush push. What I think